That free trade agreement was actually signed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, in 1998. But it was operationalized, if I remember correctly, again 2000. So we are 2001 maybe, but we are about 25 years, give or take, from that FTA. If we make that the starting point, is this a successful FTA? Because it was the first FTA signed by Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Blunt assessment, is it a successful FTA or no?
It is. In my view, it is a successful FTA. Mainly looking at the numbers. If you look at this is not a good way to also analyze imports and export versus a particular country. For an example, if that's what the US did, no, they analyzed the trade deficit between countries and they slashed the tariff. So it is not a good way to compare.
This is Trumpian mathematics.
This is Trumpian mathematics and Trumpian trade. But even if you look at in that lens, under the free trade agreement, actually Sri Lanka have a trade surplus. Don't get me wrong. This is under the free trade agreement. What we export to India under the free trade agreement is larger than what we import from India under the trade agreement. But overall, we import more outside the free trade agreement. We import more than what we export.
And especially food. I mean,
and that is also normal, because normal in the sense because what we import, export beyond the free trade agreement is anyway other countries can also competing in the same tariff line. So likely India may be importing, exporting it because of the advantage that they have. So we are importing more even at a higher tariff rate. So it's basically it's clear you have if you look at trade, even after the free trade agreement, we are at an advantageous position. So on that basis, that's just like one indicator. But why it is good is very interestingly, now everyone knows India signed so many free trade agreements, like, with European Union, with UK, they basically signing free trade agreement left, right and center. Sri Lanka-India free trade agreement is very interestingly India's very first trade agreement. So as for Sri Lanka.
Not just Sri Lanka, India's also.
India's also the very first one.
It makes sense though, because they opened up the economy after us.
Absolutely.
So we opened in 1977, they opened in 1991.
Correct.
And both were after a crisis.
Absolutely.
So that seems to be the catalyst.
Correct.
For opening up an economy. when you hit rock bottom.
Absolutely. So in that sense also it's kind of iconic and it's important. But now if you go to because this trade negotiation, free trade agreement is a separate art and a science. Now if you compare where Sri Lanka is and where India is, we are completely like worlds apart. Because they have been constantly signing free trade agreements. They are, in terms of negotiation and all that, they are very strong because they have been in this game for too long. And they have tacit knowledge on how to do the negotiations, how to draft trade agreements, all that. Because they have signed agreements with European Union and all that, which is very complicated in nature. We have only signed very few. That's also very ad hoc. Like, you have some not volunteers, but you really didn't build it as an institution on this trade agreement. So that's why I see it's the right thing, but we really didn't capitalize or we really didn't take it forward from